Karen Wells stared at her computer screen, her eyes burning from lack of sleep. For 3 nights straight, she had been analyzing the strange data patterns coming from the edge of the solar system. Something was out there, hiding just beyond Pluto's orbit, and it wasn't behaving like any natural object. "You're still here?" asked her colleague as he stuck his head into her office at NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Facility. "I can't leave until I figure this out," Karen said, pointing at the screen. "Look at these energy signatures. They're fluctuating in a non-random pattern. That's not natural." The next morning, Karen presented her findings to her superiors, who immediately contacted the military. By afternoon, Air Force Major Jack Kelly arrived with a team of specialists. "Dr. Wells, walk me through what you found," Jack said, his expression serious as he studied the data. "Whatever it is, it's trying to hide from us," Karen explained. "It absorbs our radar and telescopic scans, but occasionally emits a pulse that gives away its position. The pulses follow a mathematical sequence that can't be coincidental." Jack nodded. "You're right. This isn't natural." Within 48 hours, the president authorized a mission. An experimental spacecraft with the best sensors available was dispatched to investigate the anomaly. The craft approached cautiously, transmitting everything it saw back to Earth. "It's definitely artificial," Karen whispered as the first images appeared on the main screen. The object was sleek and metallic, about the size of a school bus, with strange markings across its surface. "It's a probe of some kind," Jack said. "But whose?" The answer came when the probe suddenly activated. It projected a holographic message, a humanoid figure speaking in a language no one recognized. But accompanying the audio was a series of mathematical equations and diagrams that took scientists only hours to decipher into English. "We are the scattered." The message began once translated. "Your world has been targeted by the Galactic Empire. Their fleet approaches. You have 117 of your days before they arrive. They will not negotiate. They will not show mercy." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "Is this some kind of joke?" someone finally asked. "The technology of this probe is centuries beyond anything we have," Karen said. "This is real." Within days, world leaders gathered in an emergency session. Military commanders from all nations joined scientists and diplomats in an unprecedented collaboration. "The message continues with specific details about this empire," Karen explained to the assembled group. "They've conquered thousands of worlds. Their fleet consists of ships larger than our cities. They harvest resources and either enslave or eliminate native populations." "And who are these scattered who sent the warning?" asked the Secretary of Defense. Jack stepped forward. "According to the message, they're survivors from worlds the Empire destroyed. They'd formed a resistance network, warning planets before the Empire arrives." "Can we communicate with them?" the President asked. Karen nodded. "The probe contains communication technology. We're learning how to use it now. Then our first priority is to establish contact with these scattered," the President decided. "Dr. Wells, Major Kelly, I'm putting you in charge of a special team. Find out everything you can about this threat and what options we have." As the meeting adjourned, Jack caught up with Karen in the hallway. "Do you think we have a chance against something like this?" he asked quietly. Karen looked at the data pad in her hand, showing the probe's specifications. "I don't know. But this probe, it's giving us access to technology we've never seen before. If we can understand it quickly enough, maybe we have a shot." Jack nodded grimly. "Then we better get to work. Sounds like humanity's clock is ticking." 3 days after discovering the alien probe, Karen Wells and Jack Kelly stood in a high-security bunker beneath the Pentagon. Around them, dozens of scientists and military personnel worked at computer stations, analyzing the data streaming from the probe. "We've decoded more of the message," said Alan Murphy, the head linguist. "It's not good news." He tapped on his keyboard, and a new translation appeared on the main screen. Everyone in the room fell silent as they read. The Galactic Empire is not interested in peaceful contact, the message explained. They seek only resources and territory. They have classified Earth as a Type 3 acquisition target, suitable for full processing. What does full processing mean? Jack asked, though he suspected he already knew. Alan grimaced. The next section explains it. They strip mine the planet for rare elements, harvest all usable biological material, and either relocate or eliminate the native population, depending on their assessment of usefulness. Karen felt sick. How many worlds have they done this to? According to this, over 4,000 in the last millennium alone. Ellen replied. They control nearly a quarter of the galaxy. The room erupted in anxious conversation. Jack raised his hand for silence. What about these scattered who sent us the warning? Who exactly are they? Ellen scrolled through the translation. They describe themselves as survivors from conquered worlds who have formed a resistance network. They're not strong enough to fight the Empire directly, but they try to warn planets before the Empire arrives. Do they offer any help beyond the warning? The Secretary of Defense asked. Yes, Karen said, moving to another computer. We've been analyzing the probe's technology. It contains detailed schematics for weapons and defense systems far beyond our current capabilities. If we can build even a fraction of these in time. In time for what? Someone asked. How long do we have? Jack pointed to a countdown clock they'd set up on the wall. Just under 4 months before their fleet reaches our solar system. The president entered the room, flanked by advisors. Everyone stood at attention. I've briefed the other world leaders, she said. We're forming a unified response team. Dr. Wells, what's your assessment? Can we defend ourselves? Karen hesitated. With our current technology? No. The Empire's military capabilities are thousands of years ahead of ours. But the probe includes communication technology that can reach the scattered. If we can establish contact, maybe they can help us more directly. Do it, the president ordered. And Major Kelly, I want defensive preparations to begin immediately. We use everything the probe gives us. As the meeting continued, Karen slipped away to a quieter corner with Jack following. There's something else in the message, she said quietly. Something I haven't told the others yet because I wanted to verify it first. What is it? Jack asked. The Empire has weaknesses. They're incredibly bureaucratic. Their entire conquest system runs on strict protocols and procedures. The scattered believe that if we can convince the Empire that Earth is too problematic to process, that the cost outweighs the benefit, they might leave us alone. Jack considered this. So we don't need to win a war. We just need to make conquering us seem like too much trouble. Exactly, Karen said. The scattered suggest we craft a message. A single, carefully worded message that will trigger the Empire's bureaucratic safeguards. A message, Jack repeated skeptically. Our planet's fate depends on a strongly worded letter. Karen smiled grimly. Apparently, in a civilization spanning thousands of star systems, paperwork can be more powerful than weapons. The scattered have helped other worlds escape using this method. We just need to establish direct contact with them to learn exactly how to do it. Then let's get that communication link working, Jack said. We're going to need all the help we can get. 2 weeks after the discovery of the alien probe, the world had transformed. Nations that had been enemies for generations now worked together against the common threat. Military bases around the globe buzzed with activity as soldiers trained on new weapon designs. Karen Wells stood in a massive underground facility in Nevada, watching as engineers assembled the first prototype defense satellite. The design had come directly from the alien probe's database. How soon until it's operational? She asked Dr. Lisa Rivera, the physicist leading the project. 3 days for this one, Lisa replied, adjusting her safety glasses. Once we confirm it works, we can start mass production. I've got teams in 6 countries building the components. And they actually understand how it works. Karen asked, eyeing the strange energy core at the satellite center. Lisa smiled, not completely, but enough to build it. This power source generates 10 times the energy of our best nuclear reactors, and it's the size of a basketball. Across the facility, Jack Kelly supervised a team testing new sensor arrays designed by engineer Paul Martinez. The sensors could detect ships moving at faster than light speeds, giving Earth precious extra warning time when the Imperial fleet arrived. "The network's online," Paul announced, his fingers flying across his keyboard. "We've got coverage extending beyond Neptune now." Jack nodded approvingly. "Good work. Now we'll see them coming." A young lieutenant rushed into the room. "Major Kelly, Dr. Wells, we've established contact with the scattered." They hurried to the communication center, where a secure channel had been opened through the alien probe. On the main screen, a humanoid figure appeared. It looked almost human, except for its blue-tinted skin and large, pupilless eyes. "I am Coordinator Zell of the Scattered," the alien said in surprisingly good English, which had been processed through the probe's translation system. "We received your transmission and are pleased you found our warning probe." "Thank you for the warning," Karen said. "We're preparing defenses using your technology, but we understand time is short." Zell nodded gravely. "The Imperial fleet will arrive in 89 of your days. Your weapons may damage their smaller vessels, but you cannot hope to defeat their main forces through direct combat. We understand your suggestion about exploiting their bureaucracy," Jack said. "But how exactly does that work?" "The Empire has conquered thousands of worlds," Zell explained. "Their efficiency depends on strict protocols. Certain conditions automatically trigger review processes that can delay or cancel an invasion." "What kind of conditions?" Karen asked. "Biological threats are the most effective deterrent," Zell said. "The Empire fears contamination above all else. If they believe your world harbors pathogens dangerous to Imperial citizens, they must follow extensive quarantine procedures." Jack exchanged glances with Karen. "So we tell them Earth is disease-ridden?" "Not exactly," Zell replied. "Their scanners would detect such a simple deception. You must present evidence of a very specific kind of biological threat, one that appears harmless to humans, but deadly to their physiology." "And how do we do that?" Karen asked. "We will transmit the biological profiles of Imperial species and their vulnerabilities. Your scientists must then craft convincing evidence that Earth naturally produces compounds toxic to Imperial biology. The evidence must be subtle enough to pass initial scans, but concerning enough to trigger their safety protocols." "A bluff," Jack said. "We're going to bluff an interstellar empire." "It has worked before," Zell assured them. 17 worlds have avoided processing using similar strategies in the past century. The Empire's size is both its strength and weakness. They cannot thoroughly investigate every claim without disrupting their conquest schedule. Lisa and Paul joined them, having overheard the conversation. "So we need to create false evidence of a biological agent that doesn't exist?" Lisa asked. "Not false evidence," Karen corrected, her mind racing with possibilities. "Real evidence of a manufactured threat. We make the agent ourselves, something harmless to us, but with properties that would register as dangerous to them." Paul nodded eagerly. "With their biological profiles, we could design something that fits exactly what they're afraid of." "Then that's our plan," Jack said. "While we build defenses, we create our biological deterrent and prepare our message." "Time is short," Zell warned. "We will provide all the information we can, but the rest depends on you." Day 45 since the discovery of the alien probe. The countdown clock on the wall showed just 72 days until the Imperial fleet would arrive. In a secure conference room deep beneath Washington, D.C., Earth's finest minds gathered around a large table. Karen Wells stood at the head of the table, projecting images onto the wall screen. "Thanks to the Scattered, we now have detailed information about Imperial biology and psychology," she said. "Their species evolved from hive-dwelling creatures, which explains their rigid social hierarchy and obsession with protocols." Jack Kelly pointed to a document on the table. "According to the Scattered, The Empire's biggest fear is biological contamination. Any world suspected of harboring pathogens dangerous to Imperial biology automatically triggers their quarantine protocols. Dr. Olivia Patterson, Earth's leading microbiologist, raised her hand. We've created something that should work perfectly. She held up a small vial containing a blue liquid. This compound is completely harmless to humans and Earth life, but it contains molecular structures that will register as extremely dangerous on Imperial scanning equipment. The substance mimics a nerve toxin that affected Imperial worlds centuries ago, explained Dr. Nathan Grant, her research partner. It nearly collapsed their government. They're still traumatized by it. So our message needs to center around this substance, said Professor Ellen Wright, the lead psychologist. But it can't be too obvious. If they think we're deliberately threatening them, they'll simply sterilize the planet from orbit. What if we pretend we don't know they're coming? Suggested Ben Foster, a game theory expert. We craft a message that appears to be intended for our own people, warning about this dangerous compound that naturally occurs on Earth. A message they accidentally intercept. Jack nodded. I like it. For the next 2 weeks, they worked tirelessly on the perfect message. Linguists ensured it would translate correctly into Imperial language. Psychologists structured it to trigger maximum concern without seeming like a threat. Scientists added just enough real data to make the deception convincing. It has to be perfect, Karen reminded them daily. One message to save Earth. Finally, the day came to transmit their carefully crafted deception. Global leaders gathered in the command center as technicians prepared the powerful communication array built from the probe's technology. The message is ready, announced Dr. Carl Wade, head of communications. We've formatted it exactly as the scattered suggested. It will appear to be an internal transmission that the Imperial advance scouts will inevitably detect. The president nodded. Send it. Karen read the message aloud as it was transmitted. URGNT. All research facilities must implement Level 5 containment protocols immediately. The newly discovered bacterial strain designated XB7 has been confirmed in soil samples across all continents. While harmless to Earth life forms, laboratory analysis indicates XB7 produces compounds structurally similar to the nylon toxin. All international visitors must undergo decontamination procedures. Quarantine zones are being established around major population centers. Further updates to follow as research continues. Now we wait, Jack said as the transmission ended. Did we include enough scientific data to make it believable? Asked the Secretary of Defense. Yes, Dr. Patterson confirmed. We attached real analysis of our compound, showing its molecular structure. Their scientists will recognize similarities to their dreaded nylon toxin. And we've seeded the compound in strategic locations around the planet, added Dr. Grant. If they send scouts to verify, their sensors will detect it. Karen stared at the silent communication array. We've done everything we can. Now it's up to them to take the bait. The room fell quiet, everyone acutely aware of what was at stake. Earth's best defense wasn't weapons or shields, but a single, carefully worded message, a psychological weapon aimed at an empire's deepest fears. The scattered said this has worked before. Jack reminded everyone. Let's hope it works again. It has to, Karen whispered. It absolutely has to. 3 weeks passed with no sign of the Empire. Earth's leaders grew increasingly anxious as they watched the sensor network for any indication their message had been received. Defense satellites orbited silently, weapons armed but unused. Karen Wells barely slept, checking the monitors hourly for any change. On the morning of the 23rd day, alarms blared throughout the command center. Multiple objects detected at the edge of the solar system, shouted Paul Martinez from his station. They're big, and they're moving fast. Jack Kelly rushed to Karen's side as they stared at the main screen. The objects appeared as bright dots against the darkness of space, moving in perfect formation. That's them, Karen whispered. The Imperial fleet. The president arrived minutes later, face grim as she studied the display. How many ships? 27 large vessels and dozens of smaller craft, Paul reported. Based on the schematics from the scattered, those big ones are colony ships, each one capable of housing thousands of troops. They're staying just beyond Neptune's orbit, Jack noted. Normal procedure would be to move directly to Earth for immediate processing. Karen felt a flicker of hope. They received our message. They're being cautious. The communications officer suddenly straightened in his chair. We're picking up transmissions between their ships. The probe's translation system is decoding them. Everyone gathered around as fragments of alien conversation appeared on screen. Potential biological contamination. Resembles nail-in compounds. Must verify before proceeding. Protocol 713B requires full assessment. A cheer erupted in the command center. They're falling for it, Jack exclaimed. Don't celebrate yet, Karen cautioned. They're still going to investigate. She was right. Within hours, a single small ship detached from the fleet and moved toward Earth. Scout vessel approaching, Paul announced. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. Activate the next phase, ordered the president. Around the globe, carefully rehearsed operations began. In major cities, people donned hazmat suits and moved through streets spraying the harmless compound developed by Dr. Patterson. Research facilities displayed elaborate containment systems. Military bases established fake quarantine zones with warning signs in multiple languages, including symbols the scattered had suggested would be recognizable to Imperial scouts. The scout ship entered Earth orbit exactly as predicted. It made no attempt to communicate but began scanning the planet's surface. They're focusing on major population centers, reported Lisa Rivera, tracking the ship's energy signatures, especially areas where we deployed the compound. For 12 tense hours, the ship methodically circled the planet. Occasionally, it descended to lower altitudes to collect atmospheric samples or scan specific locations. They're paying special attention to our fake research facilities, Jack observed, the ones supposedly studying the bacteria. Finally, the scout ship accelerated away from Earth, returning to the main fleet. Now comes the crucial part, Karen said. They'll analyze their findings and make a decision. 2 days later, their communication array detected a transmission directed at Earth. The message was brief and formal, written in the Imperial language but translated by their systems. Attention inhabitants of designation Earth 3. Imperial survey has detected potential hazardous biological elements requiring further assessment. Under Protocol 713B, full processing operations are temporarily suspended pending comprehensive analysis. A diplomatic envoy will establish contact for preliminary negotiations regarding containment verification. Non-compliance will result in immediate sterilization procedures. Stunned silence fell over the command center, followed by cautious applause. It worked, Jack said, amazed. They're sending diplomats instead of an invasion force. We've bought time, Karen corrected. They haven't given up on processing Earth. They've just delayed it until they can assess the biological threat. The president nodded grimly. Then we make the most of this time. When their diplomats arrive, we need to convince them that Earth is simply too dangerous to process, now and forever. The hard part is just beginning, Karen agreed, already planning their next move. But at least we have a chance now. The Imperial diplomatic vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere with graceful precision, landing on the specially prepared platform in Geneva. Unlike the sleek scout ship, this vessel was ornate, decorated with symbols of imperial authority, a show of power rather than military might. Karen Wells stood beside Jack Kelly and Officer Samantha Gardner, who had been selected to lead Earth's negotiation team. Samantha, a veteran diplomat with extensive international experience, kept her expression neutral despite the historic significance of the moment. Remember, Karen whispered, according to the scattered, they respect hierarchy and directness. Don't show hesitation. The ship's door slid open, revealing 3 tall figures. The Imperial representatives had roughly humanoid shapes, but with gray-blue skin, elongated limbs, and eyes with horizontal pupils. They wore elaborate robes marked with insignia indicating their ranks. "Welcome to Earth," Samantha stated clearly, making no move to approach them. "I am authorized to speak on behalf of our world's governing bodies." The tallest Imperial stepped forward. "I am High Administrator Velix, appointed by the Eternal Throne to assess your world's situation." Its voice came through a translation device at its throat, sounding mechanical but understandable. "These are my advisors, Science Director Maz and Resource Assessor Tulek." After formal introductions, they moved to the negotiation chamber, a grand hall prepared specially for this meeting with both human and Imperial accommodations based on the scattered's information. "Your world was designated for standard processing," Velix began once seated. "However, the discovery of potentially hazardous biological elements has triggered Protocol 713B, requiring this assessment." "We understand," Samantha replied calmly. "Though we were unaware of your empire until recently, we've long known our planet harbors unique biological properties." Science Director Maz consulted a device resembling a tablet. "Our scans detected compounds similar to nailin toxin throughout your atmosphere and soil. Explain this contamination." Dr. Patterson stepped forward with prepared evidence. "This bacterial strain emerged naturally in our ecosystem approximately 50 years ago. It's harmless to Earth life because our biology evolved alongside it, but we've documented its unusual properties." She displayed charts and microscope images carefully designed to support their deception. "We've been studying containment methods," she continued, "but the bacteria is present worldwide. We're concerned about potential harm to visitors from other worlds with different biological structures." The Imperial representatives conferred quietly among themselves before Velix spoke again. "The Empire offers protection to worlds facing difficulties. We could relocate your population to suitable alternative planets while processing this one for resources." "That would be problematic," Samantha countered. "Our research indicates humans carry the bacteria in their systems permanently once exposed. Relocation would simply spread the contamination." Resource Assessor Tulak spoke for the first time, voice sharp with frustration. "This planet contains valuable minerals essential for Imperial expansion. Processing must proceed." "We understand your needs," Jack interjected, following their planned strategy. "We propose an alternative. Earth remains under quarantine, but we establish trading relationships for these minerals. We can mine them ourselves using protective measures, then decontaminate shipments for Imperial use." Velix's expression remained unreadable. "Unprecedented. The Empire processes worlds directly." "But your protocols surely allow exceptions for special circumstances," Karen suggested. "The potential spread of this biological agent to Imperial worlds would be disastrous. Our proposal mitigates that risk while still providing resources you need." The negotiations continued for hours, becoming increasingly technical as Earth's team presented more evidence of the supposed contamination. They showed the Imperials their containment facilities and decontamination procedures, elaborate props created specifically for this purpose. By evening, Velix requested a recess. "We must consult with Imperial Command regarding your proposal. This situation requires review at higher levels." Once the Imperials returned to their ship, Earth's team gathered in a secure room. "They're considering it," Samantha said. "The biological threat argument is working." "But they haven't agreed yet," Jack reminded everyone. "They're weighing the cost of processing a contaminated world against the benefit of our resources." Karen nodded. "Tomorrow is crucial. We need to convince them that a long-term arrangement is better than immediate processing." 5 years passed since Earth negotiated its unusual arrangement with the Galactic Empire. What had begun as a desperate deception had evolved into something far more significant than anyone could have imagined. Karen Wells stood on the observation deck of Outpost Sentinel, a space station orbiting Earth that served as the official quarantine checkpoint for all goods leaving the planet. Below, Earth gleamed blue and green, seemingly unchanged. Yet everything had transformed. "The quarterly report is ready for the Imperial liaison," Jack Kelly said, joining her at the viewport. His uniform now bore the insignia of the United Earth Defense Force, an organization that hadn't existed before the Empire's arrival. Any issues they might question? Karen asked, though she already knew the answer. Their reports were meticulously crafted to maintain the illusion of Earth's dangerous biological condition. None. The decontamination procedures are running smoothly. The Empire gets their minerals. We keep our planet. Everyone's happy. Karen smiled. And our other activities? Proceeding exactly as planned, Jack replied more quietly, though they were alone. The scattered representatives arrived yesterday through the secure channel. They're meeting with the science team now. The treaty they had negotiated years ago classified Earth as a special case world requiring long-term observation before full integration into the Empire. During this probationary period, which Earth's negotiators had stretched to 50 years, the planet would remain under nominal imperial authority while maintaining its own governance. What the Empire didn't know was how Earth was using this time. In a secure facility beneath the Himalayan mountains, Dr. Lisa Rivera inspected the newly completed prototype. It was a ship unlike anything humans had built before, incorporating both imperial technology and innovations from the scattered. The phase shift drive is functioning perfectly, she told Dr. Nathan Grant. We can now move undetected through imperial space. The network is expanding faster than we expected, Nathan replied. 7 more worlds have joined our alliance this month alone. What had begun as Earth's desperate bid for survival had sparked hope throughout the galaxy. The scattered, once a small resistance group, now coordinated a growing alliance of worlds using Earth as their central hub. Under the cover of quarantine procedures, ships secretly moved between these allied planets, sharing technology and building strength. In Geneva, Officer Samantha Gardner met with representatives from 23 formerly imperial worlds. The bureaucratic subversion strategy continues to succeed, she explained to the gathered delegates. By exploiting the Empire's own regulations, we've helped 3 more planets achieve special status this year. And the Empire suspects nothing? Asked a delegate from a distant world. They're too large and too rigid to see the pattern. Samantha, 20 years had passed since Earth's first contact with the Galactic Empire. What began as a desperate deception had transformed into a galaxy-wide movement that the Empire could no longer ignore. Karen Wells, now in her 60s with silver streaking her once dark hair, stood on the bridge of the Defiance, Earth's first true battleship. Built with technology from 24 allied worlds, it represented everything they had accomplished in secret. Fleet status, she asked, looking at the tactical display where 50 ships from various worlds formed a protective formation around Earth. All vessels report ready, replied Commander Steve Rogers, her second in command. The Imperial inspection fleet will arrive in 1 hour. This wasn't a routine inspection. After 2 decades of successful deception, something had changed. The Empire had assigned a special investigator to reassess Earth's quarantine status. They suspect something, Jack Kelly said, joining Karen at the command station. Though now a general, he still worked closely with her in leading Earth's defense strategy. Probably noticed too many coincidences in the growing number of special case worlds. Then it's time, Karen said quietly. We knew this day would come eventually. In the 20 years since their initial deception, the alliance that began with Earth and the scattered had grown to include nearly 100 worlds. Some were former imperial territories that had won special status through similar bureaucratic maneuvers. Others were independent planets that had never fallen under imperial control but recognized the growing threat. Together, they had built something unprecedented. An alliance of equals rather than the Empire's model of conquest and subjugation. The Imperial command ship has entered the solar system, announced the sensor officer. 3 destroyer-class vessels accompanying it. Karen nodded. Open the secured channel to our allies. Across dozens of worlds, leaders gathered around communication devices to hear Earth's message. Karen spoke clearly, knowing the historical significance of this moment. The time for hiding is over. The Empire now suspects our alliance exists, which means our advantage of secrecy will soon end. We must act according to the contingency we've prepared." She paused, then gave the order they had planned for years. "Activate Protocol Sunrise." Throughout Imperial space, carefully planted operatives began executing their assignments. On Imperial worlds, communication systems suddenly broadcast the truth about Earth's alliance. On trade hubs, ships revealed their true origins and purposes. In the Imperial capital itself, high-ranking officials who secretly supported the alliance revealed evidence of the Empire's atrocities. "Imperial fleet is hailing us," Steve reported. "On screen," Karen ordered. The face that appeared belonged to Imperial High Inquisitor Dorvan, an imposing figure with the cold eyes of a career bureaucrat. "Earth authorities," he began formally, "our analysis indicates discrepancies in your quarantine reports over the past 2 decades. I am authorized to conduct a comprehensive assessment and determine if Protocol 713B has been violated." Karen smiled calmly. "Inquisitor Dorvan, we've been expecting you. But before we proceed with any inspection, you should know that circumstances have changed significantly since our last official communication." She nodded to Jack, who activated a special transmission. Suddenly, the screens filled with images of the Alliance fleet, not just the ships around Earth, but vessels positioned strategically throughout Imperial territory. "What is the meaning of this?" Dorvan demanded, his composure cracking. "The quarantine was never real," Karen explained. "It was a strategy to buy time. Time we've used well. Your empire now faces a choice. Continue your policy of conquest and face resistance from hundreds of unified worlds, or begin negotiations for a new relationship based on mutual respect and cooperation." Dorvan's face showed shock, then calculation. "This is unprecedented. The Empire does not negotiate with." "The Empire has never faced a situation like this," Karen interrupted. "Your own protocols require you to consult with the Imperial throne before engaging in conflict with an alliance of this size." Jack stepped forward. "You have 6 hours to begin communication with your leadership. After that, our alliance will take coordinated action across Imperial space." As the transmission ended, Karen gazed at the viewscreen showing Earth below them, the planet that had started it all with a single clever warning. "Do you think they'll negotiate?" Steve asked quietly. "They're bureaucrats at heart," Karen replied. "When faced with the cost of fighting us versus the benefit of cooperation, they'll make the practical choice."